Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's rested and ready for today. Welcome to the IATI 2025 Community Exchange. Some of you were here yesterday. It's great to see you back. We've got some new people in the room, and we're almost ready to get started. I'm Jamie Grant. I'm with the IATI Secretariat. We're going to start today with a welcome from our chair, Taya, and we'll have a brief introduction and get on with the first session.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's start. Are we ready? Okay. All right. Welcome to the second day of our whole thing. This is the community exchange. Michelle once legendarily said the MA is the boring stuff and the community exchange is the fun stuff. Partly true. The MA, we've done lots of important stuff. Today we get to see data use cases. We talk about our actual work, and it's always very inspiring and exciting. So I hope everyone's awake and ready to take part. I also trust one or two of you to keep our tradition to put cats into their slides. I'm sure you have done this. And I'm just looking forward to this. I hope everyone is as well. I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Mohammed Mansouruddin. Very welcome to you from Bangladesh. Sorry, go on. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and very good morning to you all. It's a great honor for me to deliver the opening remarks in this esteemed gathering of IATI's Community Exchange. At the very beginning, on behalf of my country, Bangladesh, and in my personal capacity, please allow me to convey my deepest appreciation for the privilege of participating at this esteemed gathering of distinguished leaders and experts. This is truly a remarkable forum, bringing together governments, the private sectors, NGOs, financial institutions, and UN agencies. We are united by one common purpose: to improve the availability of data in a way that enhances coordination, accountability, and effectiveness in development and humanitarian aid. It's a moment of great pride that yesterday we witnessed the launch of IATI's new strategic plan for the period of 2026-2030. This plan sets an ambitious and transformative agenda aiming to shift IATI from being a platform for data publishing to a powerful driver of transparency, mutual accountability, and the real impact in international cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, Bangladesh is a small country in South Asia with a large number of population, where the promising and potential youths are the major driving force. Bangladesh has been a member of IATI since 2012, and we are on the cusp of a historic transition now. In just 1 year, Bangladesh is going to graduate it from least developed country to developing country on 24th of November 2026. This transition, while a major milestone, presents both opportunities and challenges for us. For a smooth and sustainable transition and to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the availability of timely, accurate, and high-quality data is crucial. In this context, Bangladesh is committed to contributing to and benefited from IATI's effort to enhance data usage and promote more accountable and effective international cooperation by 2030. We look forward to IATI's guidance to ensure the availability of quality data within the necessary timelines. In addition to the global SDG targets, each country has its own national development plans and visions. For these plans to be effective, it's often not enough to rely on solely quantitative data. Qualitative data also plays a vital role in providing a true understanding of the situation on the ground. It's essential that we consider how we can support countries like Bangladesh in ensuring the availability of high qualitative and quantitative data to inform sound policy and development planning. We firmly believe that high quality, comprehensive, and timely data, both quantitative and qualitative, will empower governments and the partners to plan more effectively, to monitor progress, and to implement policies and make a tangible impact. Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable nations to the adverse impact of climate change. With approximately 28% of our population residing in coastal areas, sea level rise represents a significant threat to our population and also livelihoods. In this context, IATI's vision of integrating aid, climate finance, and development finance into a single interoperable platform is of vital importance. Trust and integration ensures that external resources are not only better aligned with the national priorities, but also that aid contributes directly to sustainable development and to achieving our SDG targets. Ladies and gentlemen, aid has a profound impact on both donor and recipient countries. It is not only helps those in need, but also contributes to building a safer and more prosperous world for us. Aid will be most effective when it is aligned with the real needs of the people in recipient countries. At the same time, development partners must also be accountable to their citizens. Transparency and accountability must flow in both directions. Aid becomes most effective when it is aligned with the true needs of the people. This is the momentum to shift the paradigm from merely increasing prescribed guidelines set by the donors to fostering genuine alliances and partnerships between the countries. The ultimate goal must be clear: to improve the well-being and reduce sufferings through policies and programs that put people at the center. As we begin today's discussions, I humbly call upon all of us to focus on the real impact of our work on the lives of people. Let us strengthen the use of data, improve transparency, and foster partnership, and deliver tangible results. Bangladesh remains fully committed to working with the IATI community to ensure that transparency leads to better decision making, enhanced collaboration, and most importantly, meaningful impact for the people we serve. Finally, I'd like to conclude by expressing my sincere appreciation to the organizers of this event and to everyone whose work and dedication have made this forum successful. Thank you. Thank you all.
Very good morning to you all. I hope you all get some time to rest from a full day session yesterday and today you are back again, fully motivated to carry forward with an exciting agenda ahead of us. So my job today is very light, to try and introduce you to the agenda ahead of us and talk about a little bit about the community exchange. I think for those who might be new, there is nothing new for community exchange for those who's been here with us for a decade and a half, which we truly, truly value. We have a very close community who really interact often and create excitements with the work that we do. Yesterday, when I was presenting the governance of IATI, community appeared in one of the circles in my presentation, because the community made IATI a very special place. That you, the community, are the one who's making it more exciting, the things that you do, and the knowledge sharing and exchange, peer-to-peer learning, that happens all the time, every time we're having these community exchanges. And they happen usually immediately after the MA, but also ad hoc in different occasions. So we continue to learn from each other, and that's what made IATI a very special place. And for those who just joined us as IATI community, you're most welcome. This is a very warm, welcoming community that loves to exchange on data use, tools, and so on and so forth. So today, that's what you will see in the agenda. As you see, the day starts with a bit of formalities, welcoming you warmly, but the most important thing is when we start discussing most of the issues. This year, community exchange is slightly different in a way, because we kind of looked into, many of you have sent us your proposals. We solicit proposals, we organize it in such a way that it becomes a coherent agenda for all of us to indulge during the course of the day. This year, we aligned it with the strategic plan objectives. Most of the issues that you would see, they resonate with the strategic plan action areas. First and foremost, the first area would focus on data quality. Data quality remains the mainstay of IATI community. We wanted to dwell on it. We wanted to continue to improve it. Yes, we have improved our data quality in the past, but this year, we're going to discuss further how we can reimagine data quality going forward in a very strategic way, but most importantly, putting user-centric approach at the heart of it. We've been talking about data quality, but from whose perspective should data quality be shaped up? This time around, we are saying we want it to be user-centric. What does that supposed to mean? We'll be discussing that, and I look forward for the experts who are going to come and open up that session for us. Second, you'll be having all that discussion going forward, but I'm only aligning with the strategic plan for you. And exciting agenda ahead of us. We spoke a whole lot about data use. What we said yesterday is that IATI's main focus in the next 5 years is going to be enhanced data use. That's the outcome we are aiming at. This is why you will see in session 2 and 3 an enhanced focus on data use, and we will be hearing from our own community who's been doing an amazing job exploring IATI data, using IATI data, and they will tell us what they found out. So many presenters, packed agenda, but most of the papers and the presentations are online. Please go to the website, find it, and then start looking into these papers and presentations. Each session, we've also developed concept note for each session, articulating, giving you a background objective that we wanted to achieve in the presentations that you would be finding in. Session 3, these two sessions would be running parallel. This room will be the main room. There will be a breakout room. Those of you who choose session 3, you must leave and join the team there. And that team will be talking about IATI, upgrading the IATI standard. I know we spoke a little bit about it yesterday. We have had a little bit of a story to tell you. We've tried some minor changes. We've learned enormously. What does this lessons learned look like? And then we'll be talking about it from also a perspective of a user side as well. So that would be session 3. Again, updating IATI standard remains paramount importance for IATI because we wanted it to be fit for purpose. And IATI standard is the biggest asset that you, the community, have created for the world, which we hope, we have, by the way, we have also registered that to the Digital Alliance, the Public Digital Alliance, but they are no longer reviewing standards for a digital public good, but they registered IATI standard already as one of the few that they would acknowledge. So this is something we continuously enrich, making sure that our asset remains the most precious one. Next slide. Yes, thank you. Now, that is session 2 and 3. You will have lunch afterwards, but session 4 and 5 are also very important for us today. You will see very exciting agenda ahead of us, traceability of local impact and accountability. We are looking downstream publishing as a very unique characteristics of IATI data. IATI data, Stephen always says that IATI data is a network and decentralized data. We get data from all of you voluntarily. We receive it and make it available in a coherent fashion in our platform for many to use it. While we were doing so, downstream publishers make up a majority of IATI publishers, actually. And we wanted to know how best we can make the best use of the downstream publishing. How can we make it more strategic, more transformative for the people who are reporting and the people who are using the data at the same time. So we wanted to hear from some of our community members what they are looking into, and it will be a facilitated discussion, but an amazing one, because we have a plan to transform that part of IATI data to a meaningful and useful approach. Next one is emerging tools for IATI data. Of course, we are super excited about AI and what it can bring in to making data more usable and useful, and insights that it can generate. Some of you have been actively pursuing tools, and you would be sharing that with us. And the infrastructure team is super excited about hearing from your own experiences, what you've been able to do. Down a little bit. This is 2 parallel sessions. Please, those who wanted to go to the tool side, you have to go to the second room. Section 6 will be plenary. We will all come back again here, and that will be a closing session where we will talk about strengthening the IATI infrastructure, and more of a reflective session that it would be. So you can see it's a very exciting day. We'll talk about infrastructure, we'll talk about tools, we'll talk about data use, we'll talk about data quality. These are all things we are all excited about. So I really look forward for an active engagement, an active exchange, open and exciting discussions. That's my job for now. I think it's all done, and wishing you the best and constructive conversations. Back to you. Cody, I think you're the one who's now going to take us from here. Yes, Amar, you're welcome. Please come over here. You're the facilitator. And we have a couple of people joining you. I look forward to the discussion. Guillermo, kindly come over here. Henry, sorry, please. And Jack, FCDO, and Stephen Flower, our own. Stephen, over to you. All right, to your good hands, Amar.
Thank you very much, Yemi. I'm very happy to be moderating this session on what I think is one of the most important aspects of the new plan that we heard about yesterday, which is data quality. And the way I understand data quality as explained in this new plan is that it is not just about technically having a more complete data product, but rather it is putting the usability of data at the heart of data quality. And I think it is also about building trust in our user community, whether it's donors, researchers, or partner countries. The more people have faith in the quality and completion of the data, the more usability it will have. And therefore, in the long term, I think it's only going to benefit us. So we have 75 minutes, and one of my jobs as moderator will be to make sure that we stay true to our goals. We have 2 presentations that will help us do some scene setting. And then we have 3 perspectives from what I would say are different groups of users. And I think by the end of the session, we would like to leave with a clear sense of what data quality is, what the IATI Secretariat is planning to do with this new plan, and then what does it mean for different user groups as a practical matter. So the first presentation is by Cody Wallace, who, as you know, is Policy and Governance Specialist in the IATI Secretariat. And he's going to talk about this issue note on reimagining data quality, a user-centric approach. And then we'll go to Stephen, who's going to talk about the review process that the Secretariat has processed, the deep dive reports. And then we'll go on to the second part, which is the user perspective. So over to you, Cody.
Thank you, Amar. Thank you, IATI community. And thank you for, kickstarting this initial discussion on such a topic, really, that's been so vital to the IATI community for more than 15 years, really. And to give credit to Publish What You Fund as well, through the Aid Transparency Index. I mean, really bringing data quality front and center has really made a tangible impact to improving data quality over the years. And I think it's also important to bring in some of the key themes that came out of the members' assembly yesterday, right? We talk about the criticality of improving the feedback mechanisms between data producers, the publishers, the users, and ensuring we improve those mechanisms going forward and into our work plan and the strategic plan going forward. And also, Amar brought this up yesterday, the impact that the scarcity of resources is having on, ensuring that we demonstrate the impact and value of projects on the ground, especially at country level, is going to be critical. So data quality really becomes a political imperative and means of survival for organizations, really. And really a fundamental point that I think was brought up by Germany yesterday as well is that, IATI is strong if it's used, but the data needs to be usable, right? So which kind of brings us back to the point of this discussion, right? Is investing in data quality as more of a user-driven and strategic investment for our next strategic plan and the work plan going forward. I mean, really, we have, if the data is not of quality, if it's not predictable, if it's not timely, all the regional country level dialogues that we engage in, all of this loses traction if the quality of the data is unreliable. So that's why we've made such a strong investment in the next work plan and in our strategic plan, especially from the support from the European Commission as well, and really visualizing data quality as a user-driven approach going forward. And I know in the next segment, Stephen will also introduce the tangible work that's been done as well over the past year on the state of the data review program in terms of, all the progress we've made over the previous years, the amount of data that we now have available. And I think from that analysis, there's really, practical ways in which to improve, the data quality on certain facets. Like we looked at timeliness, the quality of organization references, the forward-lookingness of data. These tangible improvements in data quality have a scalable impact in being able to use it. And I think also another principle I think to consider as we approach data quality going forward as well is to ensure that we match ambition with also the kind of contextual rigor in analysis, right? We know that we have a very broad publishing community with a range of publishing mandates, business logics, obviously, that we need to be cognizant of as we push forward data quality as a strategic initiative, but also being mindful of, how we could be contextually relevant by organizations. And again, the point being that, resources under pressure, making sure that, data quality is a political imperative for organizations to ensure that they're demonstrating value for money and impact on the ground going forward. So again, just, in terms of the articulating some of the core challenges that we've come across as a community, I think it's important to really recognize as well. There is a clear demand for timely and reliable data, obviously, but those publishing practices naturally vary across a diverse community, right? And it's often the onus on the users to be able to identify the nuances between those business logics of how publishers are publishing data. So if we could make that clear, as kind of a diagnostic level going forward, I think that would be an incredible use to data users to be able to rationalize that kind of information. Obviously, real world decisions depend on usable information. We've talked about this, but usability barriers can limit the practical application of this. And from the state of data reviews, obviously things like broken links, incorrect organization references, incomplete financials can have a real impact on the usability of the data. And again, ambition must reflect diverse capacities in a constrained environment. But again, I think we're moving beyond, the origins of the development effectiveness agenda and really the one size fits all approach to metrics. And I think we know that viewing data quality in isolation is it's a dynamic subject, and moving beyond basic parameters, I think we can really take advantage of the information that we have available in making diagnostics on data quality more usable and user-friendly going forward. So from those challenges, I think, we've really identified some concrete avenues that we could pursue going forward in terms of, how we could recenter data quality around usability and user needs. We know that publishers are also users of IATI data as well. Strengthening feedback loops between publishers and users. I think as we prioritize data quality in the work plan, the strategic plan going forward, we can utilize different forums to ensure that, for example, the state of the data review, and Stephen will go into this in the next steps of how we'll take that work forward into the new year, but also ensuring that we approach this holistically. We have big plans for changes to the IATI infrastructure, how we could streamline, utilize mechanisms like the IATI validator, the IATI dashboard, and how we can improve the interoperability, if you will, internally amongst our tools to improve diagnostics and data quality. So really, again, the setting ambition while respecting organization realities is another avenue, a key principle that we'll take going forward as well, in moving from static metrics to a more coherent, iterative process going forward. Obviously, we have mechanisms in place like the IATI dashboard, but I think that, the demand and improving the usability of data quality in itself requires us to view it more holistically, both for publishers and users beyond the four traditional parameters and timeliness, forward-lookingness, comprehensiveness, and if we go to the next slide. So again, we've talked quite high level about data quality as a strategic and user-centered investment, but I think we can begin to see some practical avenues for how we can implement this as a diagnostics and useful feedback mechanism going forward. So again, we do have, especially from the State of Data Review program, cross-organizational baseline of all publishers. As I said, I think moving beyond kind of the four metrics that we have currently in the IATI dashboard, how we could be more creative, right? We know that at the country level, there's a consistent demand for timely data, forward-looking budgets, and structural validity, and the descriptive quality of information, core financial information, and basic documentation, right, to ensure consistency and comparability. And again, being cognizant of the differentiated organization type and specific feedback as well, I think will be critical in how we could deliver tailored metrics to recognize that I think would be, we have obviously multiple publisher types, right? We have bilaterals, MDBs, UN entities, INGOs, local partners. So reflecting those distinct contexts and data structures is really useful as to analyze data quality holistically as well. Again, I think it's a very ambitious plan, but I think as we go forward, it's critical that we have scarce resources and that we need to prioritize this avenue of work going forward. So a publishers and focus cohort for targeted support, tactically focusing on that top quartile of publishers that will be critical. We know that from analysis that 20% of publishers make up over 80% of aggregated spending data in IATI. So I think utilizing that focus initially in this phase of work will be critical. So again, just before I hand it over to Stephen, this is just and I would encourage all of you to read the issue note that we shared ahead of this meeting, in which has a more detailed timeline for how we envision data quality as a work stream going forward, especially in our work plan and the strategic plan. So we'll be developing in the first phase for the next couple quarters, the validation of data quality metrics as kind of a feedback mechanism, making sure that it's co-developed by us and the IATI community to ensure that it's relevant and useful. And then we'll be testing that with obviously user feedback amongst the community, and we'll be organizing those consultations and then rolling this out, into how we integrate this into our own infrastructure as well, making sure that it's in line with the improvements that we envision to the IATI dashboard, the registry, and also harmonizing that information with its offerings from the validator, for example. So with that, I'll hand it over to Stephen to take us through the state of data review work over the past year.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, I'm Stephen Flower from Open Data Services. I'm going to talk to you this morning about the State of Data program that we had this year. And I want to share some stories with you about it and maybe some pictures. So State of Data, I think it's SOTD, SOTIT. I don't know. We haven't quite got there yet, but if anyone's got any ideas how we shorthand this, please come. We're not into marketing, as we can see. First of all, though, I want to share some news and announcements, something exciting that's happening, coming out of the State of Data program. So I think it's really exciting. So when you would go to dPortal yesterday, you would go to dPortal, you would search for Kenya health education, very interesting. And we would always, for 10, 15 years, tell you, okay, well, 29 organizations have published data about Kenya health education. That's really great. That's really good to see. Here's some of those organizations who've published the data. That's what we've done for 10 years. That's really great. But now, alongside who is reporting that data, we can now see who is participating in those activities, who is funding them, who is implementing them, who is accountable. And this thank you. Have you seen my slides? So this is new. And we can see now lists of organizations. Some of these have not published IATI data. They're in IATI data. They're talked about in IATI data. And now we can see them in dPortal. You can all see them. Go there after this. And this is new, as I said. Some applause. Oh, there was I had a little thing for applause there. But so this is really great, but how did this happen? This is the point. How did we get here? So in September, we had a State of Data review, and we looked at the organizations that are talked about in IATI data. And we looked at these organizations, their names, but more importantly, the references, the codes that we use in the data to make sure we talk about the same one in the same way. So we released the research, we talked about it. Here's a screenshot of us talking about it. We talked about we talked about organizations, why it's important to know them, to be unambiguous about them. It was really interesting, really important. And so yesterday we said, okay, it's now live in dPortal. So we started with some research, we discussed it, and now we can all use something that we've done together. And another applause, please. Thank you. I thought it was coming somewhere. So I think that's the point. That's what we're doing. We're talking to each other, we're researching, and we're trying to then take action. So the State of Data program, how, what, we start. Sorry, I just want to talk first of all about us, the IATI community. Now, I love this community. This is Montreal in 2014, my mistake. This is 11 years ago. And there's Ross. Ross is somewhere in here. There's Ross. This is 11 years ago, not 2024. There's Bibishan. Hi, Bibishan. I'm somewhere in the back. I can't remember where I was, but you know. And we talk to each other all the time. This is the community. I love this community. But when we talk about data quality, I think this happens. This is what happens. We're in it with each other. We talk about data quality. What? We get a bit stressed. We better get worried. Get a bit worried about data quality. So talking with my colleagues, with Rob and others, we think, okay, let's try and move this on from the scary thing, the data quality. So if we talk about the quality of data, okay, the quality of data. Yes, data quality of data, okay. But if we move on from that and we talk about the qualities of data, we're like, okay, the qualities of data. And I think that's what we need to start to think about, not just this singular thing, data quality, very serious, it is very serious, but the qualities of the data that we're publishing, sharing, and using, that's really important. So we've heard already yesterday, the data is good enough. We're going to hear today, people are using it. So let's talk about the qualities of data instead of just data quality and some cats. State of the data isn't a new thing. In the humanitarian sector, they have an annual report, some analysis of the state of humanitarian data. So we're really inspired by that, you know, looking at the data from several angles. In the open street mapping world, they have events every year, the state of the map. How are we doing? Let's get together every year. I noticed last year it was here in Nairobi. So there's lots of activity around the data world where we're looking continuously and talking to each other about the state of the data or the map or the thing. So we took inspiration from that and we thought, okay, let's first of all start with some analysis. Let's take a part of IATI and do some research into that part of IATI. And I'll talk about what we did. Let's look at a part of IATI, research it. And then we had some dialogues, some calls, and a community discussion, community events about the research that we had. So we're starting to talk to each other about parts of IATI, the qualities of data. And then finally, what I really want to talk about today is what action? What do we do after that? Because we learn several things, we hear from each other, we find out things in the data. So what are the follow-up activities that we do as part of this program? So in July this year, after some planning, in July we started with document links, and we looked at nearly 500,000 links to documents in IATI data. And we researched these documents, how many, what type, what language, etc. And we shared that, we discussed that. That was in July. In September, we looked at the organizations. I've talked about this already. And we found around 17,000 organizations that are in IATI data that we're quite confident we can be sure they're the same organization. So that was really important. And again, we talked about it and we took some action. And then just last week, we did some more research around timely data. And we looked at 14 years of updates and what does it mean to be monthly, quarterly, these things. And so again, we chose these three topics as deep dives into IATI data to stimulate discussion and then think about what action do we have to take. So the analysis that we shared, we deep dived into IATI data. We created, in effect, mini dashboards, mini interactive notebooks where you can query and look at the data, the topic of the data in different ways, with graphs, with drop downs, all sorts of ways for you to interact with this data. So we're very happy to share this. publish this and see how you could get in and out of the topic of data. And we were very keen to make this in an open, transparent way so you could repeat that and enjoy it. And then the dialogues, we had to do calls. Here's my colleague Layla. I think she was demonstrating the document links work, and we really enjoyed the calls, as we always do. And we were keen to engage not just the technical people, but policy, practice, and really try and stimulate the discussion away from just the data, but how do we use it? What, the use cases that we talked about already. Gary's smiling there. And of course, we try to promote this, and I think we can do more next year. We talked on the IATI website about the State of Data program, but I'd really ask members as well to say, okay, this exciting research has come out, put it onto your website, talk to your stakeholders about this. It shouldn't just be something we do together. So we were very busy in the last few months on this program to try and do this. So I want to just talk briefly. We had the research, we did the dialogues, but what are the follow-up actions? What are the type of actions that we're taking or we could take following this program? Well, for us, I think there were three types of actions. One is the now, things that we find that we need to fix in the data. Maybe they're mistakes, maybe they're issues, but things we can do now. So there are several actions there. The next side is improvements, things that we could improve, and we could probably do that quite soon. What are the things we can improve around IATI, the IATI standard? And the third set of actions are ideas, things that we could do if we had the resources or time or energy or other things. So the fixes are things we've done or you've done with your data. The improvements are things we're going to do. And then the ideas are things that we need to discuss. And we probably need resources to do these things as well. Let's be clear to each other. But I think this comes out of the State of the Data program, the research, the discussion, fixing things we're going to do and improve, but then ideas that we have in, and we shouldn't park them, we should enjoy them and think about how we might achieve them. So to give you an idea, give you an example of those types of three types of things, fixing issues. It might be in published data, it might be in the standard, but it's about giving support to each other about things we found through this research. A good example was when we looked at the documents, the document language, the language is the documents. In the IATI standard, you have a code for the language. And as you can just about see, the most popular language of the documents was English. But second, can anyone guess or see what the second language was? Nauru. And we thought, okay, this is really interesting. We've got lots of documents in Nauru. What's going on here? Does anyone speak Nauru? No, okay. So what it was a mistake by a publisher who put NA as the language of the document, as in not applicable, and the standard read that as Nauru. So that's something that can easily be fixed. We only really found that by looking into the data and enjoying that fact, and we're working with that publisher to fix that tiny issue. But again, it's a really good insight, but it's something we can fix, something we can enjoy fixing and do. So there are several other examples of things we think we can fix from the deep dive. The second area is improvements, things we can find out from this research and improve what we have. We've got a standard, we've got tools, what can we do? I've told you about the D portal when we had applause for that one. What else? Guidance materials, things in the standard, things that we can improve now, next. So another example, when we looked this last week at timeliness, we found lots of activities in IATI that had a status of implementation, but they had an end date in the past. So that's quite confusing, it's quite contradictory. How can an activity be implementing but have actually ended, technically speaking? So it's a contradiction, which again, we only found by looking at the data, deep diving. So the next step there, we think, is a new validation rule, something that people can use in the validation tool. And then we can track that particular thing minimizes and reduces. But again, we found this for the deep dive, the discussion. And come to session 3 today, an advertisement, and we'll talk about how we could do that with the data standard. And I think this is important that we talk about the data, the quality of data, and the things we do will go into all the sessions today, don't forget. It's not just here in this room. We'll talk about how we change the standard following this after the coffee. So the fixes and improvements, the things that we can do, we can talk to each other, but we can really achieve lots of things by talking, researching, and enjoying. The enhancements, the ideas, the things that are a bit more longer term, they're where many people are excited and interested. But again, we need to consult and talk to each other. So there could be new tools, new services, new infrastructure, directions for the standard, not just fixes, but new avenues for the data standard. But again, we need more time and resources to do this. An interesting example is when we looked at the documents, the document links, we talked with a project at FCDO called Dev Explorer. And I would encourage you to have a look at Dev Explorer. It's a really interesting tool. And what Dev Explorer does is you look for your activities, you do a search, Kenya, primary education, for example, and the Dev Explorer tool looks at the documents that are associated with those activities. And then you can ask it to do some research. And it's using AI and other technologies. And it starts to research all those documents. And at the end, you can get a summary of the lessons learned, a summary of the business cases, whatever you want, the AI will generate that. And it's really, really interesting. So we discovered this tool through the deep dive state of data project on document links. And we talked with the team at FCDO about this and the work that we'd done. And they said, yeah, well, to do this, we had to really research the IATI document links, and we found lots of broken links. We found the documents in Nauru. We found all the things that we'd found. We thought, oh, this is a bit of a waste of time that we're doing this, somebody else is doing this. No doubt somebody else would do this as well. So thinking about this, thinking through, we thought, okay, that there's lots of interest about AI and IATI. We wrote a short report about this. But really what we're pointing towards in this example maybe is perhaps we need to store the documents for IATI to make it easier for others to build other tools and services. Is this the role of the IATI Secretariat, another tool or not? That's what we should discuss. And again, we learned this from the deep dive. And come to session 5 today to learn more about that one, about that tool. But again, think about, okay, we're learning so much together. What else do we want? Not just what can we fix and improve, but what can we do and enhance? So I think that was really interesting and a whole new dimension to the idea of data and data quality. So finally, what do we do next year? Well, next year, we will carry on. We'll do more state of the data work. We really want to work with you, though, to do this, to enjoy this and discuss. And I was thinking about what do we do, and there was a really important message that came through, I think from Mark last Monday when we did the timely data. So when we looked at timeliness of IATI data, we found that some publishers are weekly, so they're updated not just monthly but weekly, and some maybe are real time. And we were quite excited about this, thinking, okay, this is really interesting. We've always talked about monthly, quarterly, but now we can see some publishers are updating weekly, maybe every day, real time. And Mark asked us, but so what? Why is this good? Why do we want this? And I think it stopped me in my tracks. Okay, I was like, really, weekly, real time, but asking ourselves, so what, I think is really important. So if we work together next year on the state of the data, let's enjoy the things we're finding, let's understand them, but let's ask each other, so what? Why do we need this? What are the user stories that we can have to do this? Not just keeping. So I think you've seen this before, our state of the data. What we need to do next year is not just carry on with this, but have a loop back, make a virtuous circle. So we keep working together. It doesn't end. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't end. So next year, I think 3 things that would really help us and help for you to take part. Share your user stories, things that you're interested in, things that you want to research. Come and join us. That'd be really great. Think about those feedback loops, whether you're a publisher or a user. How do we get the message back to each other about our data or our data stories? How do we enable those loops? And lastly, let's build a better state of data. That was the best marketing thing I could do there, the build a bit. So, okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. So now that we know a little bit more about what the Secretariat is planning to do, we're going to move to the next part of this, where we will hear from three colleagues, three different perspectives. First of all is Guillermo Vitale from the European Commission. The European Commission, of course, is a champion of IATI, a supporter of IATI for many years. I would love to hear from you more about how this is a priority for the European Commission, how you all have been supporting your member states in this mission, and how it fits with your own decision-making processes. And then we'll go and hear from other colleagues. So over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone here in person and online, our colleagues. If you allow me, I want to give three main reflections from our side. The first one would be why data quality is strategically important from our perspective, not only for EU development cooperation, but humanitarian aid as well. Because let's not forget that IATI also is important for humanitarian cooperation. And I think before we go into a deep dive on that, it's important to think how the world has evolved since IATI, when IATI was launched in 2008 and now. Global work really focused on accelerating process on the implementation of development effectiveness principles, like country ownership and building more effective and inclusive partnerships. But in these times where geopolitical tensions are increasingly evident and more polarized than ever, and when global levels of ODA are decreasing, transparency is not just a commitment, but it's a real necessity. And it's imperative for all of us to work on this. And also something that we touched upon yesterday, but maybe interesting also for colleagues that are joining us today in the community exchange. While back then, grants were the main primary source for development cooperation. But today, we now have an expanding toolbox, like blending finance and guarantees. And so this is really, really key that providers of development cooperation are also taking into account how to be transparent and publish on this. And maybe to answer one of the first questions, of course, transparency continues to remain critical to the EU's policy framework. We have the Global Gateway Strategy, which is our key contribution to narrowing the global investment gap and accompany partner countries in the green and digital transition. And one of the 6 core principles is good governance and transparency. So, of course, even in this new strategy, we remain completely committed to the 4 development effectiveness principles, and transparency being one of them. As Team Europe, we provide transparency on our projects and expenditure through OECD CRS, TOSDI, and IATI. But of course, publishing data from our perspective is just the first step. Its true impact comes when we use it. So the European Commission is not just a publisher, but also a user of this data. And maybe it's a bit metaphoric, but I really like to think that IATI gives us the tools and data quality gives those tools the meaning. And that's why I think this session on data quality is so important, because we have the tools, but we need to really make sure that they are meaningful to what we do. And maybe the last thing on more the geostrategic side is that sadly today, incomplete or partial data can be weaponized to perpetuate false narratives, and then transparency is key. And all the work that we're doing in the different constituencies is very important. Maybe a second reflection from my side is the role that major donors like the European Commission and many other members can play in championing higher quality data. And I think that it's very clear that the organizations that prioritize data quality or qualities of data, as Stephen mentioned, are making a statement. And I think that means that we value openness, we welcome scrutiny, and that we understand that good data is a strategic asset more than a compliance requirement. And I think this is really the key conversation here. Then I would also like to say a few things on why we think we need to strive on completeness of data. But here I would like to make a differentiation. I don't think it's just completeness of data, but also completeness of actors. And this is linked to what I was saying before on the diversification of flows and how development cooperation and humanitarian aid became more complex. So completeness of data, of course, is really, really key for us. And IATI is the perfect platform to trace resources from allocations to transactions and activities, and ultimately to measurable outcomes. And so IATI gives us really a perfect platform to do so. But if key elements like results or subnational locations are missing, that chain is broken. And from our perspective, only complete data will help us three main things. Will help governments align external resources with national priorities, will support donors as they allocate scarce funding, and guide humanitarian actions in coordinating processes. That's why timely data is so important. And we are working a lot internally and coordinating within INPA, because yesterday we were mentioning about working between the constituencies, but we also need to work within our own constituency. And for example, in our case, the European Commission, we are 5 main directorate generals working on development cooperation and humanitarian aid. But it's true that we are lacking some communication within the organization. So we're really trying to have open data meetings once a month or etc. So we're really trying to push also our work and our homework. And the second part of completeness, I think, is what I mentioned on completeness of actors. When we're thinking, the importance of ODA to have a catalytic effect, and we are working more with blended finance and guarantees, then it's also our responsibility, because our money comes from taxpayers' money. So our responsibility is to also ensure that private sector is also publishing to IATI. And this, I don't want to enter into a very big discussion because it would be a complete different thing, but it's something we are working on. We're doing a lot of internal discussion, and we will be in contact with many other organizations like the Netherlands, for example, that have methodologies put in place. So we really want to continue committing and to understanding that also the money that it's mobilized through private finance has to be done, has to be shared, and has to show the results. And maybe just a very few thing here as well on how major donors can help is what I mentioned yesterday on the mentoring, for example. So matchmaking those EU member states that have more experience with data reporting with those that don't. So there are many different ways in which we can really foster higher quality data from our perspective. And then the last reflection that I would like to give, so it's a bit more tangible, is how IATI data can strengthen coordination at EU level. So we really use IATI data in our day-to-day basis. And here I have 3 examples. The first one is linked to the one, just the previous example. It helps us to be accountable towards our citizens and to show the public where funding is being allocated. In our case, we have the Team Europe Explorer, which is an online tool that helps us visualize IATI data and enables users to explore how the EU and its member states' funding is being allocated across regions, countries, sectors, contributions to SDGs, and provides visual interactive dashboards. And now we're working a lot on redesigning the visualization of IATI data. So just to maybe give a tip, we are changing even the wording. So we are going to be sharing what do we do, where do we do, how do we do. So we are making it even easier for IATI data to be really easily and very usable for citizens. The second example that I want to give is that we are currently working a lot with another unit in G5 on peace and security to enhance our geolocalization data, because that's something that has been quite missing from our side. And we are really trying to join forces there to ensure a sound management of EU financial resources and the usefulness of EU actions in partner countries. And this is an incredible added value that we have from IATI, being able to publish geolocalization data. This is something that really is key for us. And we realize that it not only provides information to project managers in the European Commission based in Brussels, but also to those colleagues working in the EU delegations and partner countries. So this is something that we're really looking at. And then the third example, and it's even maybe more tangible, we are now working on creating a database for a Team Europe initiative that is called Investing in Young Businesses in Africa. Because we realized when the Team Europe initiative was launched in 2001, we had a database, but it was not timely. So from 2021 to now, it's very hard to track all the different actors and all different implementations and programs that are being implemented by our partners. So we're looking now only at the members' published IATI data. And this is really helping us to track what is being done every month, every quarter, depending on each publisher. So the idea is that we want to ensure an efficient rollout on publication of activities. And we managed to do that thanks to the IATI data. And this is not only used by the member states that are part of this Team Europe initiative, but also for us at headquarters to have discussions and then speak with the governments as well. So I think these are 3 clear examples on how higher quality data helps our own internal use and coordination between EU institutions, but also with member states. And I think this is really a clear added value. So maybe not to take too much of the time, I think to put it in a nutshell, the opportunity is enormous. And I think that if we keep strengthening the qualities of data and usability, IATI really can evolve from just being a publishing platform into a central pillar for evidence-based transparency and, in the end, accountable development and humanitarian aid. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Guillermo. I think a lot of the themes that you've highlighted, the geopolitics, misinformation, disinformation, more complexity in the flows, and accountability, transparency, I think a lot of these resonate with us. And I think that the other dimension of this is how all of this plays out from the perspective of partner countries. And I couldn't be more happier than having Henry Essor from Nigeria, the Ministry of Budget and Planning and Economic Planning. He's been doing some amazing work with IATI data. It's one of my favorite use cases. So over to you, Henry. Would love to hear how you all are using this data.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and greetings to colleagues who are online. And thank you once again for the opportunity to contribute to this very important discussion. From Nigeria's standpoint, the question of data quality goes beyond transparency because data fundamentally shapes our ability to plan, to budget, and coordinate effectively with development partners. So for us, high quality data is not merely a technical requirement, but it is a strategic asset that directly influences national outcomes. In terms of strategic importance of timely, complete, and forward-looking data, Nigeria's ongoing reforms in public financial management and national development planning highlights its simple reality, and that reality is evidence determines effectiveness. So when data is timely and forward-looking, government can allocate resources more efficiently, anticipate sectoral needs, and better coordinate with partners. But when data is untimely and incomplete or lacks projections, it weakens the credibility of planning, complicates budget negotiations, and increases the risks of duplication and misalignment. This is why strengthening data system is directly aligned with Nigeria's national priorities of fiscal discipline, accountability, and value for money. In terms of practical experience, I would like to share that one of the most transformative steps has been the integration of IATI data into the Nigerian Development Corporation dashboard. This platform has significantly improved visibility of external financing, supporting sectoral alignment and enhanced coordination with our partners. And allow me this time to just give you two concrete examples. The first example is human capital development, which is a flagship pillar of our National Development Plan 2021 to 2025. Using IATI published data integrated into our Nigerian Development Corporation dashboard, we observed that 24 development partners, including USAID, reported 389 activities for 2024, with a total disbursement amounting to about $12 billion, of which USAID alone accounted for approximately 1.4 billion. This level of visibility has been extremely valuable. However, with the recent freezing of USAID funding, the data now shows us to clearly quantify the size of the resulting financial gap. This has informed the government's strategic exploration of domestic resource mobilization, alternative financing partners, and innovative co-financing mechanisms to ensure continuity of essential human capital investments. The second example I would like to share is that of climate action, XDG 13, which is a top priority for the Nigerian government in light of vulnerability of climate shocks. Data from the Nigerian Development Corporation dashboard, which integrates IATI data, shows clearly that 12 organizations reported 26 climate-related activities in 2024, totaling about 32.3 US dollars, with USAID contributing $1.3 million. Again, the data makes the gap explicit and highlights the need for Nigeria to broaden its climate financing resources and strengthen adaptation funding pathways. These insights ensure that policy and financing decisions are informed by real evidence rather than assumptions. These examples demonstrate that integrating IATI data into country aid information management system has not only been useful, but has been indispensable. It empowers us to plan better, ensure partners engage with partners more effectively, and proactively manage risks to critical programs. And beyond Nigeria, I believe the benefits extends across the entire aid ecosystems, where donors gain visibility on where their support is more catalytic. Partners also see alignment with national priorities, and civil society has access to transparent data that strengthens accountability. In terms of challenges, I would like to share that even though our experience is positive, but there are several persistent challenges. For instance, predictability of updates varies widely across publishers. Some report consistently, while others do so sporadically, limiting our ability to assess forward-looking data for such organizations. Also, location data, whether by region, by state, or local government areas, make it harder to obtain a complete national picture of the aid landscape. These challenges reduce the usability of otherwise powerful data sets. In terms of strengthening data quality, Nigeria believes firmly that improving data quality must be approached as a shared responsibility. In that sense, donors and partners have to commit to publishing data that is timely, comprehensive, and forward-looking, not just for transparency, but because partner countries and indeed other stakeholders depend on it for critical decisions. Partner countries, including Nigeria, must also strengthen national systems, build capacity, and ensure that published data is systematically integrated but also used. Technical partners have a role in supporting interoperability and ensure that global systems reflect partner country realities and needs. Only through shared accountability can we achieve the broader goals of development effectiveness and national ownership. And looking ahead, as we reimagine a more strategic and user-centric approach to data quality, and in line with the new strategic vision 2026 to 2030, the path forward must prioritize more predictability and comprehensive reporting, stronger alignment between donor publishing cycles and country planning cycles, clearer forward-looking projections, and of course, greater emphasis on practical needs of partner countries. Nigeria remains committed to deepening the use of IATI data, strengthening our cooperation dashboard, and collaborating with the global community to build a data ecosystem that is reliable, actionable, and aligned with our national priorities. And I would like to thank you at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Henry. It's a good reminder that data quality is not just a IATI secretariat or a donor responsibility, but a shared responsibility for all of us. So those of us who provide technical assistance also have a big role to play in how we integrate IATI data in country systems and platforms, and how we use them in crises moments like the ones you mentioned are also a critical part of this. So last but not the least is Jack Lightly from the FCDO. FCDO in the UK is not only a big bilateral donor, but I know they've also been making investments in improving data quality, internal usability, the governance of data, and developing some innovative tools that we can all learn from. And I certainly get excited to see the use cases that you've developed. So over to you, Jack.
Thank you. So, is our data quality strong enough to meet the demands of the future, including AI? That is the question that has driven the FCDO to focus on data quality over the last 12 months. As mentioned, I'm Jack Lightley. I was a private secretary 5 years ago, but I am now the head of ODA transparency in the FCDO, probably an example of me needing to improve my data quality, probably starting in LinkedIn. I wanted to share today some steps we have taken to ensure our answers to that question about data quality by improving our data quality and providing external assurance of that quality. But firstly, why have we decided to focus on this issue? The FCDO focus stems from feedback from our data users, both internal and external, that consistently highlighted the fact that they appreciated the breadth of the data published, but were concerned about whether the data quality was high enough to be able to support its incorporation into their platforms and tools. The users also raised concerns about the lack of reassurance on the quality of the data published. An example, actually mentioned by Stephen earlier, is that during the development of the DevExplorer AI tool, which will be showcased later on, I think session 3, to give it another plug, in discussions with the developers of that tool, it became apparent that the potential adverse impact of data gaps could have on the results returned by DevExplorer, and raised an important point. If we want to champion IATI and its data as a resource that technology can be built upon that will facilitate data-driven development, we need to ensure that the data is of the highest quality, and external tool creators are reassured that they can use that data as a basis for their tools. So what do we mean by data quality? And what do we believe is the bar that needs to be met to ensure IATI data is usable? We believe that there are 3 main areas for improvement. Completeness, every program meets the IATI standards. Accuracy, dates and budgets make sense. And document quality, supporting files are clear and usable. As the feedback also touched on users wanting reassurance on data quality before they incorporated our data into their systems and platforms, we've also looked at ways we can provide this reassurance and at what granular level that users require it. So how are we identifying data quality issues and working to prove our data? Firstly, we have created, using Power BI, automatic comparisons of our internal and externally published data, producing reports which highlight differences on key metrics, including the absence of program projects which should be published, and budget differences, so we can start to follow up on them and to fix them in time. We've also been working with ODS to analyse the FCDO's externally published data and identify entries with potential errors, including default start and end dates, like 1900 and 2050, active projects that start after their end dates, and spends greater than their actual budgets. This work is in the early stages, but it's already delivered results as we've seen a significant increase in the percentage of programs published to IATI. However, merely fixing data gaps on its own will not improve data usage. We believe that to do this, we need to provide external reassurance on our data quality. We set ourselves a task. How can we provide data users with instant access to data reliability checks and to enable them to incorporate data, IATI data, into their work? We therefore decided to create an externally available data dashboard accessible through our DevTracker website, with the intention for this to provide data quality assurance covering accuracy and completeness. As we know that most users only use a portion of the FCDO's IATI data, we're also keen to ensure that any dashboard that we create will be drillable, allowing users to look at specific donor recipient countries as well as sectors to provide a greater level of reassurance at the level required by the data user. From our conversations with DevExplorer's developers, we are aware that the bar for data usage can be extremely high, in excess of 95% accuracy rates. In reality, it needs to be 100%. We therefore need to be setting ourselves high bars for data quality from the outset, and set in motion a continuous work plan focused on delivering and maintaining those high quality data levels. This is ongoing work, and we are only just at the start of our data quality journey. However, data quality is a shared responsibility. Therefore, if you spot issues, tell us. If you have ideas, let us know. Only together can we then ensure IATI data is the linchpin for future technology. Thank you.
So we have about 7 minutes before the coffee break. And I have some questions to guide the discussion. But Yemi, with your permission, if I want to open the floor, see if colleagues would like to start instead of me asking the questions only. If anybody has any questions, please raise your hand. And you can jump in, or even you have comments or remarks on the discussion. Yes, one general thing I would like to say, and then I'll come to our colleague here, would be to say that I think this session has given us all enough food for thought that we should leave this session thinking about the next 1 or 2 years from the perspective of our own organization. What are 1 or 2 or 3 things that we can do differently that can help us improve this mission that we all share of improving data quality? I think we have plenty of ideas from the different perspectives, so I think it would be good homework for us. But would you like to jump in? Please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Ali Job from the Gambia. Thank you for the wonderful discussions you've initiated. Actually, my question goes to Stephen. I was just looking at the data since yesterday. I've realized that there has been a lot of improvement from the last time I checked. However, I still have some issues that I think you should look into in terms of consistency. This goes to the publishers. When the data is published, sometimes you see so many inconsistencies in terms of the numbers. We need to know whether those numbers are in millions or in hundreds. Because, for example, you will see a particular disbursement showing just seven. Is it $7? Is it $70? Is it $7,000? There needs to be consistency in the way we publish the data. And I think whoever is coordinating the back end should make sure that we have an alignment so that it will be easy for the users to understand. Because for me, if I want to use the data right now, I'll be struggling to know what are the actual numbers in some of the entries, right? So it is very important that we look into this. Although there have been a lot of improvement, which it's a great thing. It's a work in progress. Data is never 100% accurate, but this is worth looking into so that we can have a consistency. Because if I am asked the question, what is this number? I will not be able to answer that. So really, I would love to see consistency in the data because we are also trying to promote the data to start using it officially. As you know that we newly joined IATI, I've been around as an observer quite a while, but now we are officially members. And I also want to push for us to use the data officially. But these consistencies needs to be addressed so that the questions will not arise.
Thank you very much. Data usability question for you, Stephen. Press the button.
Thank you very much for that question. Very briefly, I think at the heart of this is we have standardized the formats of the data over many years, but it's a long way from standardizing the practice of all the organizations who publish the data. And I think that's the part of your observation, which is really helpful. We've got 4 organizations here who have different practices. 2 of the organizations, are publishing in slightly different ways. The question we must all consider is, do we want to standardize the practice, or do we want to better understand that through documentation and support materials? So I think we really need to consider that standardization and consistency, as you say, but how else can we achieve and share that? And certainly to hear the measures being taken by the EC and FCDO, I think that's great, but how do we know that is my question. How do we know that these measures so that you know that in the Gambia? Thank you. Henry?
Yes, please.
Okay, so for Ali, yeah, while the technical estate have taken note of this and will be working, as you said, is work in progress. But from a user perspective, in Nigeria, since we have integrated our IATI into our country system, what happens is that we allow access for donor focal points in country to also harmonize the data or edit the data. So where there are issues of inconsistencies, then the donor focal points can relate with the headquarters and get the right figures, and then it will be corrected in the system.
Thank you very much, Henry. We probably only have time for one question. I'll go over here on this room. Do we have a microphone back there?
Thank you. No, it's just a follow-up question. So we heard a big concern on the use of the...
Yes, sorry, if you can briefly introduce yourself before
Yes,
you
my
post.
name is Sarah Kwaku. I'm lead portfolio advisor for IFAD, the International Fund for Agricultural Development.
Okay.
No, I was wondering, so now we heard from the government of Nigeria that they are taking the initiative to approach the donors and verify the accuracy of the data. Is there anything that is done by IATI when the donors, so the publishers report, is there a screening that is done instead of the users to do that?
Yep, great question. I have two other hands back there, colleague back there. I'll quickly take all three and then we'll go to the panel, whoever wants to answer. Please briefly introduce yourself and pose your question.
Merci beaucoup. Je vais parler en français. Je réponds au nom de Jean. Je viens du Burundi. Je représente une organisation de la société civile, Terre des Jeunes. Alors, j'ai des préoccupations d'abord par rapport à qui, au niveau national, est chargé de la collecte des données et aussi de les publier. Ceci dit que nous avons aussi des défis par rapport à la mobilisation. Comme vous le dites, la mobilisation, c'est la redevabilité et la transparence. Pour qu'il y ait la redevabilité, il faut qu'il y ait la mobilisation des acteurs, tous les acteurs, pour qu'ils s'engagent sur la redevabilité et la transparence de leurs données qu'ils utilisent régulièrement. Et je pense que, étant donné que nous sommes des acteurs dans cette communauté de la transparence, nous devons aussi travailler beaucoup plus avec l'appui vraiment très important pour la mobilisation de tous les acteurs pour qu'ils s'engagent sur la redevabilité et la transparence. Et ma question ici revient beaucoup plus sur qui doit publier les données au niveau national, au niveau local. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. There's one final question. Yes, please go ahead.
OK. Vous avez Birama Sangaré. Je pense que je vais le faire en français aussi pour un peu mélanger et puis changer de décor. On a trop entendu les Anglais en fait. Voilà, moi déjà, c'est depuis la session de Colombie, de Bogota à maintenant, je tiens à remercier l'équipe de développeurs, notamment sur Deporter. Il y a beaucoup de changements. Félicitations à l'équipe par rapport à ça. Cependant, hier, lorsque on faisait la présentation du rapport 2025, le rapport bilan, j'ai cru comprendre que 96 nouveaux membres avaient commencé à publier sur IATI, ce qui est une félicitation. Mais ma question, ou peut-être une recommandation, c'est de voir est-ce qu'on a capitalisé ou remonté l'ensemble des problèmes fréquemment posés. C'est-à-dire dans l'utilisation, il y a les utilisateurs qui rencontrent des problèmes techniques. C'est pourquoi j'ai attendu la session de ce matin pour voir les story sharing, pour voir est-ce que dans le partage d'expérience, est-ce qu'on remonte les problèmes fréquemment rencontrés. Parce que ça, ce sont des choses, si c'est documenté, ça peut déjà motiver les nouveaux utilisateurs et ça permet de retracer voilà, l'historique de ce qui se passe. Donc ça, c'est vraiment une question et en même temps une recommandation. Si ça n'existe pas, il serait très bien qu'on l'intègre dans le futur. J'ai aussi compris que dans le plan stratégique qui va jusqu'en 2030, j'ai compris qu'on va capitaliser un indicateur par rapport au nombre de nouveaux outils intégrés par année. J'ai entendu qu'on a utilisé l'intelligence artificielle. Ce matin, j'ai aussi cru comprendre que Power BI est de plus en plus utilisé. Et c'est aussi bon que lors des sessions de ce genre, qu'on prenne du temps pour montrer dans quelle manière, dans quelle mesure on a utilisé ou on a intégré, on a fait le lien entre ces outils et IATI. Je pense que ça peut de plus en plus motiver les gens. Donc, je vous remercie.
Wonderful, thank you. Some great suggestions here from our colleague about how to better document the problems that users face, as well as on the AI and other tools, how we can take time to understand their uses and how to link them up together as a practical matter. So very nice practical suggestions. And then, of course, we have a point from IFAT colleague about the screening that IIT performs, as well as a point about local and national ownership of the data. So at this point, I'm opening it up, whoever wants to jump in first, or perhaps we can go around and each of you can jump in and share your perspective on any number of these topics.
Okay.
Stephen.
Thank you. I'll just, to the point from IFAD about the screening of the data, I think there's two points to this. IATI supplies lots of infrastructure and tools to self-service and check, whether it's the validator, the schema, all those things. And secondly, many organizations, including IFAD that I know, perform those checks internally before the data is published. And that to me is the best output. IATI is just the output of the data. It's checked and scrutinized internally, as we've heard already. So I think things are in place to help, but organizations, if they're really serious about transparency, data, IATI, they have the systems and processes to do that themselves, I would say. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe I will just give a comment for the question from Burundi, from our colleague from Burundi. So I will do it in French as well, so I can answer. Mais je pense que l'une des choses les plus importantes quand vous disiez de la mobilisation de données, qu'il fallait plus de mobilisation pour plus faire la publication, les mentorings qu'on vient de lancer au niveau européen, je pense que ça peut être une chose qui puisse nous aider à voir si c'est la marche entre nous, comment on peut le repliquer dans d'autres régions, dans d'autres pays. Et je pense que la conversation reste vraiment ouverte à voir si c'est la marche pour nous, comment on puisse aussi vous aider dans la publication des données, comment est-ce qu'on a réussi avec le support technique et institutionnel à les faire. Donc je pense que ça, c'est un peu en lien par rapport à la séance de hier de partenariat pour l'impact. Donc on pourrait en parler après aussi avec grand plaisir pour voir si c'est la marche pour nous, comment on peut aussi vous accompagner dans cette côté-là. Je pense que ça peut être vraiment utile et c'est aussi une manière de continuer un partenariat, faire des partenariats entre tous pour continuer à améliorer la publication sur IATI. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to react very briefly to the recommendation on user stories and sharing experience, and say that user stories or sharing experience is not only when we gather like this as a community, but at country level, every opportunity of stakeholder engagement, you can use it to share experience or share stories. For instance, in Nigeria, we have various levels of aid coordinations where Honorable Minister meets with the donors, with civil society organizations, and there's always an item on the agenda where I make some presentations relating to aid data. So we use such opportunities to share user stories and experience among the stakeholders of the aid ecosystem in the country. So that way awareness is created and then there is more usability.
Jack.
Thank you. Probably going to touch on the data quality reassurance point. I know that Henry mentioned it, and I spoke to colleagues working on the Liberia case yesterday about actually talking to the donors and getting reassurance from the embassies, high commissions in country in the first place to confirm the data. And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to look at creating a data quality dashboard on DevTracker to provide that reassurance through automated systems and to make sure that you can get that data instantly, and to check data that's not just being produced by those embassy and high commissions, but also data from centrally managed programs, which the embassy may not actually be aware of, to give you that little bit of greater sense of reassurance on the quality. It's an ongoing process, and this is basically it's on FCDO data or UK data. It's going to be other government departments as well, but probably dropping my colleague Ross in here now is that he is hoping for it to be open source, the code on it, so that data quality dashboard and that all the updates we do on DevTracker are open source. So if others want to take that dashboard and to apply it to their own data, they should be able to. But please talk to us if you're interested in doing that, especially the early stages as we're developing it, so we can start thinking about what parameters to include.
Cody, any final word?
Yeah, just briefly, in speaking to the role of the IATI Secretariat going forward, especially, in improving feedback mechanisms and kind of what we can do to facilitate that dialogue, right, between data producers and users, especially at country level. This is a key priority for us going forward, to be more proactive as a secretariat at the country level, to really highlight and document those core fundamental data quality issues at country level for us going forward. So just to mention that, and I think the framework for how we've engaged at the regional level and the country level, especially through our latest partnership with the African Development Bank, bringing together the predominant data providers in the region and the core partner country governments in the region, was really a productive dialogue and really fleshing out what those core data quality issues were and the key barriers. And from there, taking that forward as a secretariat, facilitating those connections, and maintaining that momentum that we've established, by communities of practices between these different regional groups, I think is really helpful and a key role for us as well, in addition to technical support that we can provide.
It's a great point. Yemi?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think Cody has touched upon quite a lot of the issues I wanted to take up. Of course, the state of the data dialogue is one way. More regular interaction, as Cody indicated, is another way that we are trying to systematically create more dialogue and feedback mechanism and closing the loop. But important to note that the partnership that we have with EC, making data quality as a voluntary contribution focused, and us being able to work on it, is very important, because we're not equipped in the Secretariat. We must be very honest about these conversations. We had a position of data quality. It was eliminated from the Secretariat at the moment. So it is very important that we are not resourced and equipped in such a way to be able to do rigorous, thorough, consistent data quality checks. So what we try to rely is technology, validator and schema and ad hoc check and balance and dialogue mechanisms at the moment. If you are interested to partner with us and make data quality maximum priority, please contribute voluntarily to work with us in making this much more rigorous than what it is now. And we are available to work, and we are open for business. Thank you.
Thank you, Yemi. And Henry wanted to come in at the end, and then we'll close.
Yeah, I just wanted to express our thanks and appreciation to the Secretariat, because when we prepare our annual development cooperation report, we normally share with the Secretariat, particularly Cody, and he will always respond and make some inputs and give some guidance. So that has been very helpful for us, and I'd like to thank you. Thank you so much.
Terrific. Thank you very much. We've covered quite a bit in this session, actually, from more conceptual things to very practical dimensions from different users. I think it has given us all food for thought. But it's time to move from brain food to actual food. I think we have a break for 15 minutes. Jamie, do you want to remind everybody where to come after 15 minutes? Because I know we have 2 parallel sessions.
Thank you. Sure. Actually, we may have a slide that will help remind people the 2 different sessions we have coming up next in parallel. Session 2 will be in here, and session 3 will be past the cafe, out of out of this room, turn right and left to the end of the hall. There's a large room. I can help direct people. I'll just remind people of the sessions if you can't get them up. Next slide. Here we go. So yes, in here will be the data use cases, and in the breakout room at the far end of the hallway is the discussion Stephen mentioned on upgrading the IATI standard. So yeah, we'll take 15 minutes.